Welcome to Business Casual. I am Mihae Ahn, your host and author of The Stories We Tell and Perfectly Incomplete. Business Casual brings you unfiltered conversations with badass, inspiring, highly accomplished women. I am passionate about and believe in the power of sharing stories, our authentic, raw, incomplete stories, getting beyond the polished LinkedIn profiles to the real humans behind the titles. My guest today is Raunica Ahluwalia. Raunica is a passionate educator who made the brave journey from India to Canada, driven by adventure and a deep commitment to teaching. Her story of immigration, family, and finding her place in a new country is both inspiring and deeply relatable. I appreciate how openly Raunica shares the challenges and triumphs of her journey so far, including the difficult decisions and moments of self-doubt that came with starting over in a new place. Some key takeaways from our discussion include confidence in your abilities is crucial for success, especially as an immigrant. Surrounding yourself with positive influence is essential for growth. Please enjoy this authentic and uplifting conversation with Raunica. Hi, Raunica. How are you?
Hi, Mihae. It's so wonderful meeting you again. Thank you for inviting me here today. It's a
Yeah.
brilliant initiative and I love it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for the support and thank you for accepting the invitation and be here with me, chatting with me. Really appreciate it.
I couldn't say a no to such a inspiring invite by you and having met you and having attended so many events with you, I know this would be as exciting as anything.
Thank you. Um, how is this semester going? It is over, right? Now
No,
summer
it's
break.
still on. So we are in our spring semester, and I teach May and June. So I get over next in a few weeks from now.
Got it.
Mm.
Yes. How did you get into teaching again? So why don't we back up? I was just so excited to start talking to you. So I'm backing up a bit. Intro, please. A quick intro about you, your profession, and how you started your teaching profession.
Wow, that takes me back a long number of years. But yeah, I'm Raunica Ahluwalia, and I come from India. And I started off by doing an MBA in advertising because I was passionate about advertising and marketing. And that's when I thought I wanted to join ad agencies, and therefore, an MBA in advertising thought to be the best route forward. After finishing my MBA, I worked in a few ad agencies back home in India as an account planner. But I always loved teaching, and that maybe comes from my family background. My grandmother being a teacher, my father, after retiring from the Indian Armed Forces, he took up mentoring and career counseling. So teaching runs in our family, kind of a thing. So while I was still working in ad agencies, I used to do part time classes over the weekends, and that somehow was an escape from all the stress of advertising and marketing, and I really enjoyed teaching. So after spending a few years in advertising, I knew in my heart that I wanted to pursue teaching as a full-time job, and I enrolled myself for PhD from Delhi University, which is one of the best universities in India. That was the time when I was having two kids. So I was raising family, I was doing a full-time job, and now I had a PhD to complete as well. So it was a lot of balancing act, but I had wonderful support from my family, and I finished my PhD, and that's when I jumped full-time into teaching, and I've never looked back from there. However, life never goes smoothly, right? And we decided to move to Canada. And this was in September 2019. So there became both of us having great careers back home, putting everything on risk and just starting afresh. It was a wonderful journey. I had those 2 pages of my resume to support myself, no friends, no family, no LinkedIn connections, but just 2 pages of resume and a lot of confidence in what I had done back home. I had a chance to think over what I wanted to do, whether get in advertising again or look into teaching. Teaching being my first passion. I looked out for mentors. I looked out for people who could help me, support me in understanding what the college market looks like, university market looks like in Canada. I started off at George Brown teaching digital marketing there as a part-time professor. Moved from there to Seneca, where I'm teaching, where I started as a partial load, and now I'm a full-time professor at Seneca. That's what the journey has been. A lot of ups and downs. It doesn't look as nice and rosy as what it seems, but I'm happy to be where I am.
How did we meet? Do you remember?
I think we met when I was looking for projects for my students. And
Yeah.
that's when I saw you on LinkedIn doing some amazing work. And I reached out to you saying, hey, you're from Rotman and you have a marketing background and you look to be doing some amazing stuff. Do you have any projects for my students? I think I invited you for a guest session, and that got it started because I met another very strong, inspiring woman who came to my class and made those students realize how much it takes for an international student to settle in and make their mark in this new country where they're planning to make it a home. That common thread of working afresh in and with a new life and making it so strongly there.
Yes. What inspired you and your family to immigrate back then, 2019?
Yeah, I think we were very well settled back home. My husband is a banker, and he was at quite a senior position in banking back home. We are both masters. I had done my PhD. I was well settled in my career. There was no reason for us to dislocate ourselves. And we had 2 young children who were that time 5 years and 8 years old. But then we realized now is the time to do some adventure, take some risks, look out and see what life has in store on the other side of the world. We were young, our kids were yet in that age when they were flexible and easy to settle in. And we said, let's go and see what life has in store.
I mean, I immigrated when I was quite young, right, 19. By myself, I didn't have family to support or anything like that. And it was still, it is change, right? And it is, in a way, risk taking. So, like yourself, when you do have more than yourself to move together as a family that is more adventurous for sure. So I have big respect for you and your husband to make that decision and create
Absolutely.
a
And
new
everybody
life.
called us crazy at that time. Nobody does this with 2 kids, and knowing that you're well settled. Why do you want to shake up things when everything is going right for you? Yeah.
And how has it been so far?
I would say it's been a great learning experience. There are times, when you reach that age of 35, 36, things are looking too routine, too stable, and then you shake things up to make life exciting for you. I think that's what we did. We came and we resettled. We learned how to look at each other for our strengths, fall back on each other for support because it was a small family. Last 5 years have been, I would say, rediscovering ourselves as a family, rediscovering strengths of each other, and supporting each other on the way. So it's been reinventing ourselves in a way, and I think that's been a very beautiful journey.
Yes, it should have been nothing but easy. And the time too, like 2019 and 2020,
Yes.
COVID out of nowhere just happened. So what was the most difficult challenge that you faced and overcame?
Yeah, I think the most difficult challenge was leaving our kids behind with their grandparents, and it was just both of us who moved in September 2019. We didn't have any family here. We didn't know where we'll be staying, whether we'll get jobs. We didn't want to bring our kids to all of that. It was just both of us who came, and that, as a mother, I think was the most difficult thing, leaving a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old back home, not knowing when I'll meet them again. We were in a hurry to look for a job, hurry to get our first house, so that we could bring them over. They came in December 2019, and they went to school for hardly a few weeks when COVID hit. Had they not come at that time, I don't know where things would be. So it still gives me jitters to think how we went through that difficult time.
Yes, I can only imagine. Yeah. Um, Throughout this journey, I'm sure there are many moments that make you, proud, right? What would you choose if you have to choose one to share?
Well, I think I'm very proud of the fact that both of us had a lot of confidence in ourselves. In our value system, we brought from our parents and family and society and culture about our educational qualifications and about the work experience that we had so meticulously worked hard on. When we came here, we only had those 2 pages of resume to bank upon. A lot of people gave us a lot of negativities, saying your PhD from India will not be counted. You might want to do it all over again. Or saying you have a very distinct accent. You cannot teach in colleges with this accent. The fact that we didn't have any work experience in Canada, we were so fresh. We came on PR and we had no education, no experience of working in Canada. The fact that don't stay in downtown Toronto, that's not where you're supposed to be. You should be somewhere outskirts, because that's where you might get a job if you do. The art of closing our ears and just believing in ourselves is, I think we both are very proud of that. And there were times when we self-doubted our capabilities, and that's, I think, where both of us having each other helped. Had I been alone, maybe I could have succumbed to those, pangs of self doubt. Having a partner sometimes helped to bring you out of that zone. And now looking back, we are proud that we did not engage in any jobs that we did not believe in. My husband, he finished his certifications in banking and then took up a job as a branch manager when everybody said you will only be able to start at the lowest level. And he got it at RBC at downtown.
I love your story because it is not as you said, all rosy. At the same time, it is not all just hardships. There were small wins you collected as you went through your journey, and having each other. Immigrant life can be very difficult, right? The support system that we leave behind at home and not having that can be quite daunting and lonely. But having spouse who is very supportive of you, that definitely helps. I once heard at an event, marry well or don't marry at all.
I agree.
Right? It's so
I agree.
important to have that partner in life.
Yes, I believe so. And just to add on to that, we came here with just each other, but we found such amazing people on the way. We had a family friend we met in our first week who was a mentor with TRIAC, and she introduced us to TRIAC, and we had never heard about something like that. That's Toronto Region Immigrant Employment Council. And we reached out and we got a mentor. I had a mentor who was a professor from Sheridan College. He was from IT, nothing to do with marketing, you know. But he instilled in me the confidence, saying you're on the right path and this is how you approach colleges. A complete stranger helped me on. Similarly, my husband got a mentor through TRIAD, a complete stranger who helped him move his his paces through the various interviews that were lined up. And I believe those are those small friends and circles that we now call our family.
Yes, certainly, certainly. Even just you and I, how we started our relationship and how we hired how many people, Raunica, through um, you talking about opportunities that we have at Pursuit IT with your students, and yeah, how many of them became our interns and also full-time employees.
That's
And I very much admire your willingness to help. The value system that you brought with you from your home country and the culture that you grew up in, how you're willing to help and add value to people around you, and also willing to hear and learn, right? Those are such qualities that all educators need to have, right? And you totally possess all of them.
No, I agree. I'm in such a beautiful world right now. Of course, teaching was my passion, but I'm surrounded by amazing people who do this on an everyday basis. All my colleagues, when we get together and we hear stories, because we are teaching so many international students, and each student has the same challenge. They have exactly the same stories of self-doubt. Will I be able to, and being surrounded by a lot of negativity, and to pull them out each day when we enter the class, is something all of us are doing. So I'm just very privileged and very grateful to be associated with these people around me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Self-doubt is real, right? And that, in a way, noise around us telling us why not things are not gonna work out instead of why things will work out
Right.
despite the
Right.
challenges, despite the difficulties. So
Right.
I have always known your passion for teaching, your passion for your students. What about teaching gives you most fulfillment?
I think when they come back after 5 years, 6 years, and they say that tiny bit that you did in the class is what helped us in our life. I
Oh,
think that brings so much happiness and fulfillment in what I'm doing.
yes, that gives me such goosebumps. We don't know how we are making impact in other people's lives, right? All those little things, both positive and negative, so that
Yes,
we need to watch out
correct.
for
That's
self-aware
correct.
and yeah, what negative potentially influence we can have on others, but the positive impact, you never know
Yeah.
what will create
Exactly.
that.
So, all those stories we share in the class about ourselves, about the challenges, telling them that our path has not been as rosy as it seems. Don't only look at the good picture, also see what you can learn from the challenges we have had. So, we are case studies ourselves, right? So,
For sure.
and maybe that's the reason why I call so many inspiring people to my class as guest faculty, because there are so many things to learn from each one of us. I'm not
Yes.
a complete person by myself. When I called you in my class and you spoke about how you moved continents and how you set up yourself, and I encouraged them to read your book and attend your events, because there's so much to learn from everybody who's had a challenge and outgrew it strongly and came up and made a difference.
That is one of the reasons the stories, right? Not every part of our journey is rosy and all just good. Hence, I wrote this book, right? My second book, The Stories We Tell. And this podcast is about sharing those real stories because social media and media in general can teach us that share the shiniest part of your life and only share those when life is not that.
That's correct. Because life is also about, balancing your own self. There are times when there were days of self doubt. There were days when my kids didn't have friends. They were not going to school and they were self doubting, saying, why did you make this decision? I left my friends behind. There were days when they missed the toys and books we left back home, and you couldn't get them overnight. Slowly you had to rebuild your life. You left a house set up and now you're rebuilding it all over again. And those are the times when you need to be so strong, because there are times when you have to put on a mask as well. You cannot show your true picture to a lot of people who are staying in those four walls with you. And I think those are the times when you need to be very, very strong.
Yeah. Leadership, whether at home or at work, it is the balancing work.
That's
Yes, you
correct.
need to be authentic and true to yourself and share the real messy stories. But at the same time, there are times that you need to show up strong and
Absolutely.
reliable so that you can create that environment and the mindset that, yeah, we can do this.
Absolutely. And I think there's so much you're carrying on your shoulders when you're starting afresh, because it's also people back home, the families that you left, that are looking at you with that question mark saying, why did you leave? What better are you getting in that country which you couldn't get over here? You need to prove to them as well, saying, okay, we are fine. You don't need to worry.
Yes.
At the end, it's your parents there, and they're worrying all the time about you. And there's only so much that you can tell them, about your challenges. You cannot be very open and you
Just
cannot be
lie.
very,
You cannot do
you
that.
cannot, of course you cannot. Yeah. And of course, and there's another stuff, that isolation, saying you don't have friends here, the people you grow up with, and you don't have friends here. It's either working relationships, it's either people you've met 2, 3, 4 years back, and you're still in those infancy stages of
It takes
friendships.
time to
It
build
takes time.
friendship and build
Yeah,
community for sure when
absolutely.
you
So I,
relocate.
I guess there's lots going on. It's a work in progress.
Mhm. Have you dealt with guilt at all after you moved or after you made a decision to move?
Yeah. I think COVID led to a big time when there was a lot of guilt, when kids couldn't go to school. And both my kids used to play soccer back home, and they were not joining clubs here. We were transitioning. We were in Mississauga, moved to Toronto, new school again, new friends again. And we were in those guilt pangs of not being able to give them exactly what they were left behind, a big house, lots of friends, grandparents, cousins, soccer club. So those areas are the guilt areas, taking them away from their family.
I dealt with guilt quite a bit um, back when I was making a decision to stay because I moved when I was 19. At some point in my 20s, I could decide whether to go back. Okay, studying is done, have
Yeah,
some experience here, move back and settle down there versus just stay here.
yeah,
I was on the decision point,
yeah.
and back then I dealt with a lot of guilt. Okay, if I were to stay here, what that means for my extended family back
Yeah,
home, right? With my parents who
that's right.
want more than anything just have their girl close to them, even though I was all grown up, 20 something, close to 30, still in their mind, in their eyes, their baby girl, just wanting, yeah, me close
Yeah,
by and all the other guilt. Yeah, dealt
yeah,
with that quite a bit.
right.
It's not an easy decision.
Not an easy decision at all. So if I were to rewind everything, I think it was a great decision for my kids, and for their future. if I can bring everything together, that's a perfect planet. But of course, nothing is perfect, right?
No.
No.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Same here. When I think back, um, last decade, my 30th, yeah, the decision that I made in my late 20th, it was the right one. But you never know, right? Because you don't get to live the other life that, yeah, you never know. But
Who knows what tomorrow has in store?
yes. If there was any mistake that you made that you learned most from, what would that be?
Well, I think some of the mistakes that I made, I'll be very open about it because those were mistakes which many people might think about making as well, was being getting desperate for that first job. Yeah.
I've been there, done
And
that. Mhm.
exactly. And I remember going for an interview after changing 3 4 buses, and I went for an interview. This lady was running a college, and she said, you know what, you are a digital marketer, why don't you work in my college and do digital marketing for me, do my SEO website, blah blah blah, but you know what, I won't pay you.
Oh my goodness.
you know I'm giving you an opportunity to have my brand on your resume, and you should see it as a big opportunity. I was about to say a yes, Mihe.
Mm-hmm.
I self-doubted myself at
Oh, I
that
believe you.
moment.
And
Yeah.
I've been
And
there.
I
Yeah.
thought that was a great opportunity to get started, to have something going on my resume.
Mm-hmm.
I could have said a yes to not being paid, of having those self doubts. Hey, you know what? I don't have a Canadian experience. Maybe this would get me started with a Canadian experience. I could have done that. I said, I will come back to you tomorrow. I was about to commit a blunder in my life, and that next day, better sense prevailed because I could go home and talk over with my partner. And we put our foot down, saying, I don't think we we are that whatever, that we should succumb to anything that's unpaid at this stage for our life. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that that decision of not saying a yes to an unpaid position uh, was something I feel very strongly about, even for my students who are going there and looking for volunteer work. Forget volunteer, even internships and co ops and whatever. I feel strongly that if you're giving your worth, you should be paid for it.
Yes.
And this harassment of new immigrants looking for work and not being paid for it, I think that's something I strongly suggest as a big mistake that anybody can do. Of course, there are reasons why people do that, and it could be survival at the basic. But if it's not a reason for survival, I would suggest stand up for what you come with, your values, your education, your experience. Stand up for yourself because there's nobody else who will be standing up for you.
Yes.
And demand that you be paid for what you're worth.
I think there are differences. I totally hear you. And I've been there. The desperation to have something going for yourself. I've definitely been there. I think there are differences though. If there is, for example, cause that you really believe in, there is charity or nonprofit that you can do some volunteer work to add value to them and to fulfill the other side of you and your life. I really want to support that cause, and that by helping them, I can also be helped because I'm learning something new that I see myself or anyone else that I love doing. But like your experience, yeah, you are way overqualified for this, but you're new, so where else can you go?
I agree.
So do this free work. That, yes, I totally
I agree.
hear
And
you.
and maybe that's something we talk about in our classes as well. I do a lot of volunteer work and that takes a lot of time, effort, and a lot of energy as well. But I enjoy doing that because that's comes naturally to you, you
Yeah,
know,
and that's
and you don't
emotional investment,
expect.
right? That
Exactly, that's
engagement.
investment in your
Yeah.
emotional
Hmm.
upliftment as well, right? Your spiritual upliftment as well. I strongly believe that there are a lot of these areas within you that you need to develop. It's just not the intellectual part of you. You need to
Correct.
develop yourself emotionally and spiritually, and volunteering helps you do a lot of that. But I definitely try to instill this confidence in our students and in new immigrants that I volunteer with to stay away from these elements in our community that take advantage of your position as somebody new.
And the taking time to make decisions, that wisdom that you had back then. um,
Yeah, I'm sure that was the only reason why I didn't say yes. Taking time, you know, just pausing yourself to say, let's not make a hurried decision and stop and think and come back.
I have, even in my inbox, the delay send Outlook or any other inbox, mailbox, you can do that, right? In case there are things that you need to adjust.
Yes,
I have this few seconds delay in sending because
yes,
when, like, your experience, decision that truly matters, we want to take time to make the decision rather than in a rush just make it. And also, there are times when emotion is running high,
yes,
want to take a pause.
that's correct. And that emotion, especially when you don't have a job and
Mhm.
you are desperate for that first job, that can overpower all your decision making.
Yes, the survival instinct that we
That's
all
correct.
have. Yeah.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah. So, yep.
What are some of the questions that you hear the most from your students these days?
Oh, definitely about not having Canadian experience and therefore not being able to enter the job market. And that's a difficult question, saying, you know, what constitutes as Canadian experience? You know, um, all the projects that you're doing for the industry, can you write those? Can you talk about those? Any volunteer work like we spoke about, you know, that's experience for you. Your back home experience is equally worthy. It's just that you need to project it in the right manner. So a lot of questions on that. The second big question I get is regarding you know, applicability of their resume, their education, experience, projects they have done. Do I hide them? Do I, you know, somehow sugarcoat them? Uh, do I take them away from my resume because it looks too overqualified, too overexperienced as a person? Yeah,
Overqualification, that is another thing. Yep, that's
of
another big
course,
thing.
big thing. So all of those questions, hiding your name, changing your name,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
Again, been there, done that.
exactly trying to fit in,
Yeah.
you know, with your accent, with your name, but maybe changing some things here and there will make me a better fit in the society, kind of a thing. And I think those are the questions that I come across every day, wanting to fit in with the right qualification, right experience, right things on my resume, right way of sounding things.
What do you recommend?
Yeah, like I always say, it's your confidence. You know, you are who you have made yourself to be. With this name, with this accent, it's you at the end of the day. You can make up, you can do whatever, but at the underneath, your real you needs to come out. You know, you cannot fake an interview where you'll be working for the next whatever number of years of your life. So have confidence in yourself is the first thing. You know, you can keep doubting everything about you. My hair don't look the way it should, my face doesn't look the way it should, I don't dress up the way I should, and the society will keep having expectations from you. But the day you start believing in yourself, is the day when you'll overpower all these self-doubts and stand in a crowd and still be yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are definitely societal changes that will need to happen, right? There are definitely biases, that there are definitely inequality, inequity that is on a societal level that we need to address for sure. But I hear you and I agree with you on first think about what is within our control, right?
Yes.
What we can do ourselves, to ourselves, with ourselves in our life, and take control over those things that are within our control and work towards more of a bigger scale changes that we can be the change agent for.
I agree.
So yeah.
I agree. And it's so important, Mihae, at this stage to surround yourself with people like you, who also speak the same language. I believe that when you have right people with you, you take their energy. You know, their
Totally.
their energy grows on you.
Mhm.
No, and I work hard. LinkedIn is one of the very nice medium for me to do so. That made me connect with you, for example. And I look out for others such strong personalities around me to draw my energy from, because I cannot do it alone. And there are times when I will seep down. A lot of negativity
For
around you,
sure.
a lot of pulling down, a lot of expectations, a lot of burden on your shoulders pulls you down. And there are people like you who 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 boost up that energy. And so when I see you writing that book, doing this podcast, you know, we synergize on those levels. You know?
Thank you, Raunica.
So it's simply helping each other pull that energy from each other and grow strong.
Yes. Very much rather be energy booster as opposed to energy vampires because there are people who are definitely energy
Absolutely.
vampires.
So, like you said about marriage,
Mhm.
marry well or don't marry at all. It's have the right friends and connections, or just don't have them at all. I'll be happy sitting in my home reading a book than connecting with people who pull me down.
Yes, agreed. Very well said. Thank you so much. I mean, I checked the time. We
Just
checked
flew
the
off.
Sorry, I wasn't mindful of the clock, and thank you very much for
No,
sharing your
it's
stories.
been a pleasure, my pleasure to come and talk to you. I don't think we have spent so much time together, and it's been an absolute pleasure knowing you, working with you, and having my students work with you. And I'm so grateful they are in the right company, they are at the right place with a great mentor who can show them direction in their life. So, thank you for all that you've been to me and my students.
Oh, thank you. Same goes
Thank you.
to you. Thank you.
You have a great
Hopefully,
day.
sometime soon, in-person coffee chat. I don't think we've ever done anything in person. Started our
Right.
relationship during COVID time, and our relationship has been all virtual.
Absolutely. Let's do that really really soon.
Yes. Thank you
Yes.
again.
Good. Bye
Talk to
bye.
you
Good
soon.
day. Bye bye.
Bye. That's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Please remember you have more agency than you often realize. Choose your stories. I'll see you next time.